Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. It is the Hometown Take live in the Q Studios with your boy Dylan Mathews on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. The Atlanta Hawks now finished with Summer League and don't have a game now for 3 months, basically. So, Steve Koonin, he joined Dukes and Bell on Friday, his weekly visit with the fellas, and he was asked about, trades and what they might do for the rest of the offseason. Obviously, the Hawks have moved on from John Collins. But what's the plan to replace John Collins? Are we just going to give Saddiq Bey and Jalen Johnson more minutes? Are we going to try to trade for someone, get somebody in here? The Hawks have, as you've seen, have been making moves to maybe get some salary cap space to possibly bring in another very good to all-star caliber player. So what's the plan here? Well, Steve Koonin answered it by saying they've been calling, they've been taking calls, they've had a couple of deals in place, they've been close to a couple of deals, and they ultimately just fell through for one reason or another. So my question to you is does this make you feel good, or does this maybe give you a little concern as to if the Hawks are going to be able to get a deal done this offseason? Are they going to be able to make a trade to improve this roster? I will say I'm not concerned. The fact that they have been close to a couple of deals, I think we should be happy that they are actively on the phones, which, again, a lot of teams probably are more active and more on the phones than you probably think. I think teams are always fielding calls. I mean, Landry Fields has told us himself he's always fielding calls. Stuff doesn't always go through, and sometimes you're just listening. But the fact that they have been calling teams and taking calls, I think shows that they are active and they are actively trying to get something done. Now, stuff has fallen through, and obviously the deal has to get done, or it really doesn't mean anything. But I think the Hawks are going to make another move. And I think it's only a matter of time until it gets done. So I don't think we should be concerned that deals are falling through. And I think it's a good sign to see that they are actively trying to make moves and actively trying to make the roster better. Because I think they know, Jalen Johnson, Saddiq Bey, think they are good pieces. But at the end of the day, they are pieces. And I think they know, too, Trae Young and DeJounte, I'm not sure they can be your best two players and get the job done. Now, with having a full offseason and having a full season coming up with Quinn Snyder, that could be good. That could be good for the Hawks, and that could definitely help. But how much will it help? How many wins does it add just on the fact alone that you're going to have a full offseason and a full regular season with Quinn Snyder? How many wins does that add alone? 2, 3, 5? I think it helps some, and I think it does add some wins. I think just the fact of having Quinn for a full offseason, being able to fully incorporate Quinn Snyder's offense, having Quinn Snyder's assistants, I think all that coming together, I think that will add a few more wins to the Hawks' 41 they had last year. But I don't think it's making the Hawks an NBA Finals contender. I don't think it's making the Hawks a championship contender. So that means you're going to have to do something to make this roster better. Because right now you haven't made a move that makes this roster a whole lot better. I mean, Patty Mills is a good veteran backup point guard if they do decide to keep him, which we're not even sure about that yet. if the Hawks are even going to keep Patty Mills. So a move to me has to be made to make this team better. A move to me has to be made to improve this roster. And the fact that they, again, have been taking calls, fielding calls, making calls, and they've been close on a couple of deals, but again, from Steve Koonin, according to him, they fell through. I think it is at least encouraging that they are actively on the phones, actively looking for trade partners, actively fielding calls to make a deal and make this team better. Now, I'm not sure if the people they are talking to are the Toronto Raptors. I mean, according to reports, they have been in talks with Toronto throughout the offseason. I don't know if they're still in talks with them, trying to maybe get a Pascal Siakam deal done. But they are talking to teams. Not sure if they're still talking to the Raptors or not. So I'm not sure if we're going to see Pascal Siakam. It seems like the reports and rumors on that particular trade idea and scenario and trade rumor, it seems like those have quieted down, but I still think the Hawks make a deal. I don't know if it's going to be a big Pascal Siakam type deal or if it's going to be maybe a smaller deal, but I do think the Hawks need to do something. I do think they need to get a premium stretch four in here to replace John Collins. Like your prototypical stretch four. A bigger guy, taller, could still possibly be a little bit of a rim protector, maybe a little bit of a shot blocker, who can also stretch out as a three-point shooter. Not a guy who can just shoot threes, but you need a three-point shooter. We talked about it all offseason long. We talked about it during the season. Quinn Snyder's offense going to be an offense based around movement, based around motion, and based around knocking down threes. So the Hawks are going to need plenty of guys who can knock down threes at a high clip, including at the power forward position. So, to me, that's the key. But, again, hearing Steve Koonin say the Hawks have been taking calls, making calls, and hearing Steve Koonin say the Hawks have been close on some deals, but they've ultimately fallen through, I don't think it should be concerning. I think it should be encouraging for us Hawks fans out there. I'm liking they be active. And again, deals do have to fall through. I mean, deals do have to get agreed upon. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, you were close, but that only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So, obviously, something has to get done, but I would rather them be active and hear that they're active and hear the CEO of the team say they're active rather than me not hear anything from anybody. So, I think we should be encouraged, and I think the Hawks will make another deal. What that deal is, we'll have to wait and see.